Hi, this is Jason from Horrific Nightmares, and it's time for a positive spin. Today we're going to be talking about Gotti. Now, I got this at the Dollar Tree for a whole dollar, and that's where Joe got his, and this is actually the Canadian version of the film, or the Blu-ray. Um, yeah. So, my relationship with this film, this was my first time watch. I know it was Joe's first time watch as well. I had known about this film from a show that my wife and I watched called Vanderpump Rules. Now, the director, whose real name is Randall Emmett, went under a pseudonym in order to direct this film. And of course, he was involved in a huge scandal, which included like a casting couch, of course, sexual abuse, um, abuse of his business partners, probably women, and creating a hostile work environment. And I've heard other things. I don't know them to be legit, so I'm not going to say what they are, but I've heard a lot of things about him. Now, this, of course, he was one of the characters on the show. He was their boyfriend, and she was pregnant having his child when it turns out that he was married and had cheated on her since the beginning of their um, relationship, as well as cheating on his wife, so on and so forth. So he wasn't painted as a very honest, likable person. After all that happened, the truth came out. And they would take jabs wherever they could. By them, I mean the other characters on the show would take jabs at this film for being one of the worst movies ever made. But is that really the case? Well, we're going to put a positive spin on Gotti. Now, I don't think Joe and I, either of us, because of what we had heard, were particularly enthused to watch this film. This got a 4.8 on IMDb, which is very low for a drama, especially a mafia film. Um, Usually they get a lot higher, and they're held in higher regard for the most part. Now, the first thing I found about this film is that it feels authentic. I really enjoyed this film, and I'm not really sure where all the hate comes from. Gee, you've never heard that before. But it actually feels authentic. And John Travolta, who was actually um, lobbied by the Gottis to play John Gotti in this film, in my opinion, put forth an Oscar worthy performance. I thought he was great. And of course, his wife, who is no longer living, was his wife in the film. She did a fantastic job as well. Um, some of the particulars I like about the film, I love the music in the film. It's very, it fits, and it's also kind of rockish and bluesish as far as like the score goes, and I thought that was pretty cool. This has a great cast, including John Travolta and his wife, Preston. I'm trying to think of what her name is, her first name. I can't think of it for some reason. I'm blanking. A lot of typical characters and a lot of characters that don't usually play mafia people, like Stacy Keach. I was kind of surprised to see him in one of the leading roles as Gambini. Um, I like the relationship between John Travolta and his on-screen son, John Jr. It was different for a mafia movie, in my opinion. The makeup for Travolta was great. Like I said, I think he put on a an incredible performance in this film. If you like mafia movies, I don't understand why people wouldn't like this. Now, one of the things I noticed about this film is it does jump around quite a bit because it takes place in a certain place in time. But as John and John Jr. are talking in a in jail, um, they are remembering how things went down in his life. So it does jump around a bit. Um, for some people, it may be kind of hard to um, pay attention to. I guess. I mean, people seem to have uh, a short attention span these days. And this is another one of those movies that if you're not paying attention the entire time, you're going to be completely lost because there are a lot of moving parts in this film. Like most mafia movies, there's a lot of players, there's a lot of people that are not necessarily main characters, but they have a lot to do with the film. So, like I said, if you're not paying attention, it's it's going to confuse a lot of people. I think maybe that's where the breakdown kind of started. Because other than that, this feels like a mafia movie to me. This feels like a Goodfellas. This feels like a Casino. It just has that sort of relationship to those films. And like I said, I found it to be quite interesting exactly what his life was all about. It just it kind of blew me away. I guess going into the film not expecting much because of what everyone else says, it surprises me how good it is and how much people talk trash about it. So I'm actually really curious. Has anyone out there seen Gotti? What did you think about it? I want to know why people hated it so much. I've read reviews where it said it was boring. I didn't find it to be boring. The pacing was really good in this film. The pacing was where it needed to be, in my opinion. I mean, some of the mafia films are kind of long. So definitely let me know if you didn't like it, why you didn't like it, because I just don't understand. I'm genuinely curious. So, yeah, check this one out or don't. It wasn't a bad buy for $1. And to be honest with you, I'm so glad I have it in my collection. But don't forget to check out Joe's Positive Spin for Gotti. Remember, guys, physical media matters. And until next time, peace.